Hi everyone, we're at Pillars of Wellness today, and with us is Lori Desjardins. She is the co-owner of Pillars of Wellness, and she's also an occupational therapist. Today we're going to find out more about what OT is. So what is occupational therapy?
That's a good question. So occupational therapy is a form of rehab. The difference between occupational therapy and many other therapies is that we actually use functional activities as our rehab.
Okay.
So instead of strengthening a bicep muscle doing bicep curls, we would look at, lifting your child or lifting groceries and trying to improve in those skills, but using a functional activity.
So who would benefit from occupational therapy?
So we see everybody across the lifespan. So we see from children to older adults, and it depends on what the sort of occupation is. So for kids, it would be helping them with play and developing that skill, all the way up to seniors, maybe looking at home modifications, being able to stay in their home longer, cognitive challenges, some physical difficulties that they might have.
Okay. So what kinds of conditions specifically do you treat then?
So we treat sort of the whole person in the aspect that we do a lot of physical injuries, neurological conditions, cognitive impairments, perceptual challenges, psycho-emotional issues. So we have a lot of tools in our tool belt. So we treat from a variety of perspectives.
Okay. And what is the philosophy of care then with an occupational therapist?
So the main purpose behind occupational therapy is really developing quality of life and developing independence. So when we're working with people, we're sort of looking at two aspects. One would be looking at how can we compensate for their injuries or their deficits, and how can we remediate some of those issues. So a lot of the time we'll be doing modifications to a task or to a home, and at the same time trying to rehabilitate them so that they're able to do that task easier, but in the meanwhile we try to bridge the gap between the two.
So do you treat in-center as well as in-home then?
Yeah, so a lot of the therapies that we do in the center are great, but they don't always translate into the home. So a lot of occupational therapists work with clients directly in their home because you have a much better chance of building an appropriate program for them when you're actually in their environment, and you can make a much bigger change.
And what about like an in-office or an actual occupation setting? Do you do that as well?
Yeah, so if we have any issues, a lot of clients have neck, back issues. A lot of things are stemming from sitting behind computers and doing things like that. So we do a lot of ergonomics on site at people's workstations, modifying that environment and trying to make their 8 or 10 hours a day feel better so that later in the day they can function a bit better.
Excellent. And then what areas do you specialize in?
Well, I sort of do a variety of different things, but my passion, I must say, is working with seniors. And I do a lot of neurological health, traumatic brain injury, concussion, that type of thing. So that's sort of the area that I have spent more of my time in. And I also do a lot of mental health and emotional challenges. So those are kind of the areas that I like to focus in.
Perfect. And then as far as Pillars of Wellness goes, what are the other therapies that work in tandem with occupational therapy or that might work with you in order to make sure that all of our patients and clients that come in are getting the best care?
Oh, every occupation has, or every profession has their role, I think, in people's care, which is why we developed the center. So there's a lot of overlap between professionals, and everyone has sort of their unique skill set, and I find that every client's different, right? So you can't say that you have X, Y, and Z all the time. So I work quite well with the physiotherapist, with the chiropractor, with the naturopath. We do a lot together with some of the yoga therapies as well. So they really interplay well together, but it's really catering each person to the right therapies. So there's not a kind of cookie cutter approach.
Perfect. Yeah. So if you have any more questions about occupational therapy, please call us at our office or visit us online, and we'll be happy to answer your questions specific to you.
Thanks.